We are the Gujarat Technological University. Since its inception over a decade ago, GTU has been empowering young and curating minds to realize their true potential. Over 4 lakh inspired students are enrolled with one of the premier academic universities in India. With more than 450 affiliated colleges in its fold operating across 5 zones of the state, GTU, the International Innovative University, your place to move forward.
Hello friends, I welcome you in my second lecture of group theory. In the first lecture, we discussed about binary operation. Okay, so let us just recall what is binary operation. So binary operation is a function from x cross x to x. If you want to check whether some operation given on a set is a binary operation or not, you just have to check whether if we consider 2 elements of that set and we relate those 2 elements by the operation, then the resulting element must also be in the given set for given operation to be a binary operation. Today we will discuss about some properties of binary operation. These properties are important in studying the concept of semi-group, groups, etc. So first property is commutative property. All of you are familiar about commutative property of real numbers. For example, if we consider 2 real numbers x and y, then we know that x plus y equal to y plus x. So we can say that addition is commutative, and this is the formal definition. Suppose star is a binary operation on set x, then this binary operation is said to be commutative if x star y is y star x. Okay, so this is simple definition. If we reverse the order of elements, then if their value does not change, then the operation is said to be commutative. A simple example is addition operation on the set of integers or on the set of real numbers. We know that x plus y equal to y plus x, so addition operation is a commutative operation. Similarly, if we consider multiplication operation on the set of real numbers or on the set of integers, then multiplication is also commutative. We know that x into y equal to y into x. Similarly, x plus y, this is about addition. Next property is associative property. So we know that addition is associative. What is meaning of this? If we consider, this is familiar with us, x plus y plus z. Okay, here we are changing the order of grouping. First I am taking group of y and z, and then here I change. I consider this y with x, so x plus y plus z. Similarly, x into yz equal to xy into z. Okay, so if this is true, then we say that operation is associative. So x star y star z equal to x star y star z, then that operation is called associative operation. So binary operation star is said to be associative if for any 3 elements x, y, z belongs to x, this property is satisfied. Subtraction is not associative over the set of real numbers. Okay, you can check, instead of addition, here you can put negative sign. So you can always find three real numbers such that these two are different. Okay, these two are different. So if you want to show that subtraction is not associative, you can consider x, y, z particular numbers and show that this property is not satisfied. We have discussed that union and intersection are binary operations over the power set of real numbers. Okay, so you can check union. If we consider three sets A, B and C, then A union in the bracket B union C is always equal to A union B in the bracket with union C. Similarly, intersection is also associative. They are obviously commutative also. A union B is equal to B union A. Similarly, A intersection B is equal to B intersection A. So these are another examples of commutative and associative operations. Next definition is identity element. Okay, there are two types of identity, left identity and right identity. So suppose star is a binary operation on X. Now if I can find out some element in given set, okay, this is unique element. If there exists some element in the given set such that if I consider operation of any element with that unique element, then I get this element back. Okay, I am getting X back here, and this must be true for every X. If there exists an element E denoted by E in capital X such that E star X equal to X for every X belongs to X. This is important. This must be true for every X belongs to X. Then this element E is called left identity. Why left identity? Because we are operating this E on left side. Similarly, E is called right identity if X star E equal to X for every X belongs to X. So if both of these are satisfied and both are equal, that is E star X equal to X star E equal to X, if this is satisfied for every X belongs to X, then we say that E is the identity element with respect to the given binary operation. Okay, you are familiar with identity elements. For example, if we consider addition operation on this set of natural numbers, addition operation on this set of integers, then suppose you want to find out the identity of any set with respect to given operation and you don't know what is the identity, then you can go by reverse way. First you assume that suppose that set has identity with respect to given operation and use the definition. Okay, so here I assume that suppose Z has identity. If Z has no identity, then I will get some contradiction. Okay, so we will go in reverse way to find out the identity of a given set with respect to given operation. So I want to find out what is the identity of Z with respect to addition operation. So what I do, I assume that E is the identity with respect to addition operation in the set of integers. Then by definition I must have E plus X equal to X plus E equal to X, and this is must be true for each element of Z. Okay, so from this I get E plus X is X and X plus E is X. Now can you guess for which fixed element of set of integers this is possible? For which element of this set Z this is possible? E plus X is X for every X and X plus E is X for every X. So this is possible only if E equal to 0. So we know that 0 plus X equal to X and X plus 0 equal to X. So this is true for every X in Z. So E equal to 0 is the identity with respect to addition operation in this set of integers. Okay, so this is the way how we decide the identity. Next definition is inverse of an element. Now to check the inverse, your given set must have identity element. If given set has no identity element, we cannot talk about inverse element in that set. Okay, so this is, you have to check about inverse if your set has identity. If there is no identity in the set, then there is no need of talking about inverse of an element. So suppose star is a binary operation on the set X, and let A is any fixed element of this set. If we can find out some another element in this same set such that A star B equal to B star A equal to identity element, then this B is called inverse of A, and it is denoted by A inverse. Okay, B is called an inverse of A if A star B equal to B star A equal to identity, and if B is inverse of A, then A is the inverse of B. So A and B are inverses. So when A and B are inverses, so A and B are inverses if A star B equal to B star A equal to E. Okay, remember this property. If you want to check whether given element has an inverse with respect to given operation, then we will go in this way. First we assume that suppose A has inverse B, then using this we are able to find out what is the value of B. Let us take example. I consider the same set of integers with respect to addition, because now I know that this set has identity 0. Therefore we can talk about inverse element in this set of integers. Okay, so now we know that 0 is the identity of set of integers with respect to addition operation. So we can talk about inverse of an element. So we start by taking fixed element in Z, and we assume that it has an inverse, and we assume that suppose B is the inverse of A, then by definition addition of A plus B must be equal to identity element, which is 0 here. Okay, this will be different depending on given set and given operation. Be careful. So from this we find that this is possible if B is negative of A. That means inverse of A is its negative with respect to addition operation. So for example, inverse of 2 is minus 2, because 2 plus minus 2 is 0. Okay, so every element of Z has inverse with respect to this operation. Next example, let capital E be a universal set, and we consider power set of E, that is set of all possible subsets of E. We discussed in the last lecture that union and intersection are binary operations on this set, power set of E. So now we consider what will be the identity element of this set, power set, with respect to the union operation, and later we will see what is the identity with respect to the intersection operation. Okay, be careful. Once the operation is changed, identity will also change. So identity strictly depends on the given operation. The same set have different identities with respect to different operations, or the same set may have identity with respect to one operation and it cannot have identity with respect to another operation. So I assume that E is the identity with respect to union operation. Then by definition I must have A union E equal to E union A equal to A, for all A belongs to power set of E. Instead of this capital E, I could have used another notation because we have used capital E earlier, but it is fine. Instead of capital E, you can use some another notation also. So if capital E is the identity with respect to union operation, then A union E must be equal to A for every subset of given set. So when this is possible only if E is empty set. Okay, so that means phi is the identity with respect to union operation. Now once we find out the identity, we can discuss about inverse of an element in the given set. Okay, so we find out, or we first check what will be the inverse of this set A, which is a subset of E. So now this set has identity element which is empty set. So now we start by assuming that suppose this set has inverse in power set of E, then by definition of inverse we must have union of A and B equal to identity element which is empty set. So when this is possible? So this is possible only if A and B both are empty sets. That means B is the empty set. So every non-empty set has no inverse with respect to union. The only elements which have inverse in power set of E are empty set. Okay, so again this is not easy. Okay, you can start by assuming suppose B is the inverse of A, then this is by definition if A and B are inverse of each other with respect to union, then their union must be equal to identity element. Identity, as we discussed, phi is the identity with respect to union operation. Okay, so from this you can visualize that this is possible only if A and B are empty set. Okay, if we consider any non-empty set here, for example, suppose I consider B is non-empty set and A is also some non-empty set, then this is not possible. Okay, suppose the set with which we have started is non-empty set, then it is not possible even if B equal to phi. Suppose A is non-empty and if I consider B equal to empty set, then A union phi is going to be A. Okay, so this is possible only if both are empty set. That means if A is non-empty set, it has no inverse. If A is empty set, then its inverse is possible only if B is empty set. Okay, so the only elements of power set of E which have inverse are empty sets. Okay, so only empty set has inverse in power set of E with respect to union operation. Okay, you can check for the intersection operation on this same set. Next example, we consider multiplication operation on the set of real numbers. Then what will be the identity element with respect to multiplication? Okay, here this is obvious. We know that 1 into x is x into 1 for every real number. So 1 is the identity with respect to multiplication operation on the set of real numbers. So we can talk about inverse elements in R. So if I consider any non-zero element, first we check for non-zero elements, then we will check for what happens when A is 0. So suppose A is non-zero real number, I want to check whether A has inverse in R with respect to multiplication or not. So we will go in reverse way. First we assume that suppose this element has inverse in R. Okay, so suppose B is inverse of A in R with respect to multiplication. So by definition multiplication of A with B either from left side or right hand side must be equal to identity. Identity is 1 here. So when this is possible, A into B equal to 1 implies B must be equal to 1 by A, and because A is non-zero, B equal to 1 by A is defined. That means because A is non-zero, B equal to 1 by A is definite real number. So every non-zero element has inverse. Inverse of A is 1 by A if A is non-zero. Now what if A equal to 0? If A equal to 0, then you have to find out B in such a way that 0 into B equal to B into 0 must be equal to 1. So it is impossible. 0 into B is going to be 0, and 0 equal to 1 is not possible. Okay, so therefore 0 element has no inverse with respect to multiplication. Next property, cancellation law. You are familiar with this from your school level. We know that if A star x equal to A star y, then this implies x equal to y. But this is not true every time. Okay. You are familiar with numbers. Suppose you have multiplication operation, then A into x equal to A into y implies x equal to y if A is non-zero. Okay. For 0 it is not possible. So we generalize that concept, cancellation laws, when we can cancel out the elements with respect to given operation. So a binary operation star on a set x is said to satisfy the left cancellation law. Left cancellation law means here I am cancelling A from left hand side. So if A star x equal to A star y implies x equal to y for every xy belongs to x, then we can say that this operation satisfies left cancellation law. Similarly, star is said to satisfy right cancellation law if x star a equal to y star a implies, here we are considering a on right hand side. So if this implies x equal to y, then the operation is said to satisfy right cancellation law, and this is true for addition, subtraction and multiplication operations in the set of integers. They satisfy both the left and right cancellation laws. Okay, so this is about properties of binary operations. In the next lecture we will discuss about semigroup monoids, and then we will go to the definition of group. But to understand the definition of group, you must have understood binary operation and its properties very well. So thank you.